Hi. So today I want to talk about the plateau. Okay? So the plateau in this case refers to when you're exercising or you're training or, to be honest, doing anything, right? And you feel like your results have stopped, right? So I'm going to mainly be talking about resistance training because that's one of the things that people feel the most plateaus in, right? But it can be applicable with a little bit of tinkering with the variables to a lot of other things. So bear that in mind. I'm talking mainly about resistance training, but it could be applicable to a lot of other things. Okay, so first of all, what we're looking at, right, is that the results you have, okay, so results is from your habits, okay, whatever those results are. So whatever your results you have, they're going to be from the things that you repeat, okay? So that's really, really key with this. Results is from habits, okay? So a plateau is a lack of progress, right? So progress, right, equals change, right? Oh, my writing is so bad, okay? So progress is basically change that we want, change in the direction that we want to go in, okay? So we get the results from the habits that we have, right? Whatever those results are, whether those results are progress or not, okay? And progress is change that we want, positive change, okay? And then the plateau is obviously going to be when we don't get the progress, okay? So the plateau equals no progress. Okay, cool, right. Oh, my writing is just, this is so hard. Anyway, right. Okay, so the plateau is when we don't get any progress. So there's kind of like a timeline, like a sequence of events, okay, where plateaus can emerge. And so what this video is about is basically where do you identify, okay, in terms of like the scale of the plateau, right? So I'm going to break this down roughly into 5 categories. You could argue there are more, but I think for general purposes, let's just say 5 categories, right? So I'm actually going to start with the second category, right? So I need a little bit of space, okay? So the second category is newbie, okay? So the newbie category, okay, is basically if you're doing a process consistently, okay? So if you're consistent, you'll be at the newbie level of something, okay? Now, the reason I've put this as the second phase, the reason I've put this first, right, is because I need to then backtrack to explain the first phase, right? But basically, you get to your first plateau, okay? You will do something, and then you will get to your first plateau. You will get results when you do something for a while, and then you'll plateau, okay? So the newbie level, right, is when you are just consistent, okay? In resistance training, you could argue that that is 2 to 6 months, okay? Oh my God. My writing is horrendous, okay? So let's just say the newbie, like, you're consistent and 2 to 6 months. And so to break that first plateau, okay, the very first level is nothing, okay? So consistency is the very first value, okay, to get you, okay, to do change, to have progress, okay? So if you are not consistent, okay, so let's say we're using resistance training as our example, okay, if you resistance train every now and again, okay, you have no regularity, you have no consistency, you basically don't resistance train, okay? So your first plateau, okay, of making no progress is because you're not even consistent. Okay? And if you're not consistent, it basically affects to you not doing anything, hence why you are at the nothing level. Then the next level is if you are consistent, okay, compared to not consistent, that is a huge leap, and so you will get results, okay? You will affect some change. However, after a while, that change will run out. You will plateau, because the only thing that you're doing is being consistent. So what I mean by that is that the newbie could get change from nothing by just turning up regularly, at least weekly, right? If they are consistent, if they are regular, and they just do some resistance training, token effort, they just do some bits and bobs, they will create some change, because that consistency represents a leap from not being consistent, okay? You don't have to do anything else. So we have the newbie gains, right? This represents a change, boom. But then if you're only consistent and you don't do anything else, eventually that will run out and you will plateau. So now you need to move on to the next level. So after 2 to 6 months of being consistent, your results will flatten out, and now you need to up the game a bit. Now we move to beginner, okay? Bear in mind, I'm a little bit dyslexic, so I might be spelling things wrong, so forgive me, okay? So beginner level, we now add in effort, okay? So effort is just basically where you're trying to improve, okay? So you're going to come in and you're consistent, and now you're trying hard and you're trying to do better, okay? So you're going to be putting in effort to create change. You're not just turning up and sort of going through the motions, which in the beginning does work, but quickly dries up. 2 to 6 months, just turning up will run out of steam. So now you need to apply effort. So this here, the time scale for beginner, can go on quite a while. And a lot of people don't actually leave beginner. They can keep making results for ages, right? But typically that will be up to 2 years, okay? So let's say up to 2 years, okay? That's a typical sort of time span where you turn up and you put in effort, okay? You are trying to get better, okay? So this again, compared to, I'm going to put a little plus, okay, here. So this represents that you're consistent and you're putting in effort, okay? So now, you're trying hard, you're trying to get better, and typically you'll see good results for quite some time, and then at a certain point, just turning up and just trying to get better, eventually you plateau. And this is probably the most common area where people get stuck in gyms, is they resistance train, they saw great results, and one of the things, the reason they get stuck is because they saw this result process over the first couple of years. They think, well, it worked in the beginning, so I just need to keep doing it. And of course, that habit, okay, creates the result, but there's not enough change. They're putting in effort, but now there's not enough change no matter how hard they try, and the progress stops. Okay, you've reached your next plateau, which now means you're going to need to go to the next level, which is intermediate. Okay, so I'm just going to put inter, because my writing is horrendous, okay? So intermediate, okay, we could now say, let's put in programming, okay? So we're going to put plus programming, okay? So if you have been going to the gym consistently, okay? You've been going to the gym consistently, you've been putting in effort, and you've now plateaued. Now you need to think about programming. Why? What does programming do? So programming is basically where you are going to shift variables, okay? So variables like what reps you are doing, what exercises you are doing, what is the volume, okay? All of these things can be programmed ahead of time. So when you were just the beginner, you could literally just turn up, pretty much do whatever you wanted, okay? As long as you put in effort, you'll see growth. You don't need to think about it too much for the first couple of years. You'll get results. But once this runs out, now you need to have something in place ahead of time. If you want to keep on getting results after these first couple of years, if you've plateaued, you now need to get into programming. Okay, so ahead of time, you have things mapped out, exercises mapped out, rep schemes mapped out, volume mapped out. So that basically, rather than going in and doing whatever you feel like, you now have some aspect of a plan that goes forward and you follow it. And then that creates the ability for you not to do a snake charming dance, but to like create waves of progress where you do something, back off, do something, back off, do something, back off, and create the variability and the recovery needed in order you to keep on making progress. Now, there's a really cool thing about this. A lot of people may stay in intermediate forever. And like, this could be like for life, right? Because here's the thing. The only reason you need to go up a level is if you plateau. Right, let's just say that you come in at the newbie level and all you do is show up, right, and you don't put any effort in, right, and you're just doing by the numbers and you make progress for the rest of your life. You don't need to go up a level. You only need to go up these levels if you plateau, okay? Now the plateaus typically do happen, but if you get to a level and you're just like, well, I don't need to program, I just turn up, train like an animal, do whatever I want, and I just make continual results, like everything's measured and look, it's all increasing. You're golden. Another aspect to this is if you are happy with the results. So if you're happy with nothing, you don't need to do any of this, right? If you're happy with the plateau that you get at with newbie, where you just turn up, and the thing is, there's nothing wrong with this. If all you want is quality of life, and consistency gives you that quality of life, and you don't have to put in effort, you have to worry about programming, then that's great. Your quality of life is there, boom. However, there are issues with this in that sometimes when you turn up and you do the same thing over and over and over for years, as well as not getting results and getting a plateau, you can also get other issues. Like, for example, you're more likely to get, it seems, repetitive strain injury if the stimulus in the body doesn't also change, okay? You can also get the whole aspect of you think you're maintaining, but you're actually backsliding because our brain does funny things with cutting corners and stuff like that. So there are issues to contend with. But if your quality of life is good, nothing's compromised, and you're happy at the level you're at, that's great. However, if you want to see more results, bump up a level, okay? And then we're going to put in the final one, okay, which if you have been consistent, you've put in effort, you've tried to create change, you are programming, okay, right, and you've plateaued, now it's time to go to advanced, okay? And advanced is just basically where you've plateaued even with like a program that does all of this sort of stuff. Now you need to move on to specialization, okay? So that's the law of specificity, okay? I'm probably going to spell this wrong. And it looks awful writing sideways like this, okay? So advanced and specialization is just basically where, like, now you plateau if you've got a general program, and now you need to basically concentrate on just one thing while everything else, okay, takes a back seat, and you move to maintenance, which would be something similar to like a level here, while you really push for effort because you just can't make progress like here. Okay, so the advanced thing is when you focus on one particular thing, let everything else go into the background a bit, and make progress on just one thing, or maybe just two things, make that progress, then put that on maintenance, and then go and specialise on something else. So these are your levels: nothing, newbie, beginner, intermediate, and advanced, okay? We have the time scale of 2 to 6 months if you're a newbie, up to 2 years if you're a beginner, and then these two, basically, if you never plateau, then you don't have to move on. Okay? Now, a quick extra further word about all of this. These general terms also apply specifically. So let's say, for example, you're a bit of a bro, okay, and you go to the gym and you put in effort, okay, and consistency into your upper body, right? But you're not even consistent on your lower body, right? It's a bit of a stereotypical common thing for the gym bro, right? If you were to then suddenly add in consistency to your lower body, you would get these results, okay? So the law of specificity applies also to whatever it is you're doing. So say like you only bench press, but you never squat, and then you start squatting, you will get these results. Just because you're here on one thing doesn't mean you're here on everything. So you can actually see like, oh, okay, I haven't got results on this one particular thing, where am I? and then adjust accordingly. Okay? And that's basically it. If you've hit a plateau, be realistic, look at what you're doing, and then adjust. Break the plateau and have progress. Have a good day.